Gives me great pleasure to introduce the CEO of GoviEx Uranium, Daniel Major. I've got some disclosures to talk about, and just be aware we've got a bit of a technical issue. Daniel is going to be asking someone else to advance the slides, so please bear with us this morning. From GoviEx perspective, you can see their disclosures on the second page of Daniel's presentation, and I encourage you to look at them. They do cover forward-looking statements. From a Red Cloud Securities perspective, I would highlight that this is a webinar for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this webinar does not take into account the particular needs or situations of investors, and that participants should rely on their own investigative work to make their own investment decisions. And with that, Daniel, I'm going to pass it off to you, and I look forward to your update on GoviEx.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the introduction. So I'm going to just take you through GoviEx. I'm trying to see my own slides, so I'm a bit blind here. Where I am. So GoviEx is a uranium-focused company. So before I carry on, guys, am I going to have some slides? I can't actually see anything.
Yeah, so we're on the Growing Africa-Focused Uranium Company slide.
Which is slide number...
Three, I believe.
3. Thank you very much. I have no idea where I am because I can't actually see the slides myself. So it just makes it slightly challenging. All right, so from slide 3, just an overview. We are an Africa-focused company. We got a large uranium resource over the 3 projects we have. Our main focus is on our mine-permitted projects, being our Nigerian project and our Zambian project. And the Nigerian project, Madawaela, we're very much focused on our ability to get that optimized and improve the bankability so that we can start focusing on securing the financing structure and the offtake structures required to take that project into the next stage. So if I take you on to the next slide, my slide number 4, as I said, all our projects are in Africa. We have Madawaela in Niger, Matanga in Zambia, and the Falea project in Mali. We like being in Africa. We're in good jurisdictions. They are all mining jurisdictions. I mean, Zambia has been well known for its copper industry. Mali is now the 4th largest gold producing nation in Africa. And Niger, since the early 1970s, has produced about 140,000 tons of uranium, making it one of the largest uranium producing areas. Good mining codes in all jurisdictions as well, and particularly in West Africa, good solid business law to go with it. I'll just briefly touch on the uranium market. And really, the key highlights on slide 5 that I've got is WNA are predicting about 2 to 3% per annum growth out on nuclear generation. We've seen nuclear generation back pre-Fukushima levels. We've got China currently still targeting well up to 20% of their generation from their current 4% coming from nuclear, while they're still committing to renewables at the same time. This is meaning they're building 6 to 8 reactors a year. Got a lot of growth coming out of Asia. And the world is still struggling to deal with carbon emissions. And a lot of countries are setting themselves targets by 2030 or 2050. They will be neutral from their market point of view. And I think what has changed in the last year is a political change, realizing that these benchmarks cannot be achieved to reduce these carbon emissions without nuclear being part of it. To the extent we've actually seen, countries like Denmark now coming out and saying, we have to go into nuclear. Holland as well. A lot of African countries are also prescribing to go down the SMR route, an area that's become a lot more interesting over the last year, with Russia, the US, and China all competing strongly with smaller nations to get into the SMR race and sell those reactors globally. On the supply side, on slide 6, we've seen the market change over the last few years. We were in a supply deficit until the major producers in Cameco and Kazatomprom took a strong hand in this and started to reduce production into the market. That has resulted in certainly Cameco being a buyer in the market to replace pounds from its McArthur River mine. COVID has had an effect as well, where we saw Cigar Lake from Cameco close, and the Kazakhs reduce their wellfield development, forcing both of them into the market for increased buying. So we're now sitting with a case where Cameco and Kazatomprom are buyers in the market. The utilities have been relatively under purchasing so far this year, and we expect to see them improve. The one point I'll say, and it's not on the graph here, unfortunately, is that be careful with the prices you're looking at in the spot market. There are 3 quoted prices, and the one that gets quoted most of the time is the Cameco one. The Cameco price went to a $4 premium over the prices quoted for Convidine and Comerex. So if you look at the optics of the industry through Cameco, it looks like we had a super run up in COVID and it's all fallen apart. But if you look at the optics out of Convidine and Comerex, they only went to $31 and have settled down at 30. So COVID and the impact of production cuts through the optics of Comerex and Convidine looks like a very stable market that's been formed. And really, you've got an overinflated position at Comerex. So Cameco. So going forward, we're expecting continued demand out of the industry. We have the producers continuing to have to buy and the utilities coming back to buy. So we think we're still looking at strong growth going forward and in the short term. If you go to slide 7, we really have a GoviEx focus here, which is all about development, very much about getting our Madahuela project going first and then following it through with our Matanga project. Our Falea project, I'll come to a bit later, was very much a uranium play, but more recently we've had to relook at it from results of gold that have come through on that. So on slide 8, the Madahuela project in Niger, we own 80% of that. The government owns 20%. It got 10% as a free carry under its mining code. And then we did a deal with them last year where they canceled $14.5 million that we owed them in exchange for a 10% stake. We have a right of first refusal over that 10% if we want to buy it back in the future going forward. It has all of its infrastructure there. It's next to the mines of Cominac and Somaya. There has road there. There's a power line. Only this week, there was another new solar plant being built to the south of us to provide more power into the jurisdiction as well. And interestingly, a lot of water below the surface. So on slide 9, we have our previous economics. They were the 2015. As I said, the real focus for us as a company at the moment is on this PFS. It has taken longer than we had planned and what we had indicated to the market. And really, that has been delays in the time frame it is taking to get test work done in South Africa. COVID had an initial effect on us, but also they've made it more difficult to move material around. So it's taking us up to 2 weeks to move material from one laboratory to another. So we're coming to the end of that test work. We've started the mining teams now looking at the pit design. We'd already done a lot of work on this project. So we are pushing very hard to get an updated PFS out of this project. It hasn't been for a want of trying, but we are trying to put out the best PFS we can to really show that this project is bankable and to be able to go back to those export credit agencies that showed interest before in financing this project, subject to an appropriate PFS coming out from us. We also have the Matanga project in Zambia. It is 3 mining permits. It is a very simple open pit heap leach operation here. We do have an issue on our Chirundu license, which is the northernmost one with the blue and sort of bright fluorescent yellow green deposits in it. That was terminated recently by the Zambian government. We have appealed it. We've been in communications with the Ministry of Mines. We, in fact, have a meeting again next week. We've had a lot of support by the Canadian government and the Association of Zambian Miners and Explorers. And certainly our indications are right from the beginning that we were optimistic in getting this back. And I have not changed my position on that. It's a very small part of our project anyway. We have a lot of exploration upside in between the licenses, but certainly our position is that we expect to get that one back in the near future. So the Matanga project numbers are on slide 11. As I said, very simple, open pit, low capital project as well, but it has a slightly higher operating cost than Madawaela, and that's the reason why we tend to do Madawaela first before looking at Zambia. And then on the Falea, slide 12, Falea has changed, and we really need to re-understand where this was. This was a uranium project. It was an unconformity uranium project where the uranium is trapped in the sandstone between the Birimians and the dolomites above. One of our licenses, the Modini license, it's the most eastern one, the one that's the most green in the top image that's on your screen. We wanted to deal with that last year with a gold company to spin it out and focus on our uranium project. So we did gold soil sampling to better understand where we were. We couldn't come to a deal appropriately, but what we did realize is actually not only did we have an extension of the Sibayaya trend, rather than it just trailing north-south down the license, it actually went underneath our uranium project, and we had the Sibayaya West gold trend as well. So we have two of the major gold trends going through this project. We've just done a program where we've taken the previous owners used to drill through the uranium project 20, 30 meters down, but then stop assaying at the unconformity. So we've cut 98 cores and sent them out for sampling, and we're waiting for those sampling results to come through. It's an interesting project as well because we already know we have high silver grades here and high copper grades. So we have four very interesting minerals in a project now that we really need to understand what to do with it. From a board point of view, on our slide 13, very experienced board. We have Govin Friedland, son of Robert Friedland, Benoit Lassalle, a guy who really opened up West African gold mining when his formation of Semafo, and Chris Wallace, a debt guy. My own team on the operational side have a lot of experience as well. On slide 14, the capital position we're sitting in, we did a recent raise sitting with $3.5 million, so well cashed up for well into next summer. We have a debt on the balance sheet that is to the government of Niger still. It's for our surface rights that we hold, but we don't have to repay them that until July of 2023, sorry. And that is only on the basis that we get really into that project development. And then from a value point of view on slide 15, in the previous cycles, there's really been two ways that people have made a lot of money out of this sector. One, you've made a bet on those that go from being to developers to being producers. That was in the 2007 cycle, where Energy Fuels and Paladin massively outperformed the sector. And in the 2011 cycle, it was all about the takeouts in Africa, securing the projects that were advanced and having them taken up by the Russians and the Chinese companies at high value. So obviously in GoviEx's position, we're hoping that one or the above applies very much to us. And then really on my last slide, just to reiterate, we have the experience, we have the resources, we've got the permitted project, so that, the legislative not part of it. We are looking at optimizing our projects, and we got a lot of technical work done. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Look, a couple of questions. You've been talking about, and these are typical struggles that we're seeing across multiple industries, delays related to the pandemic. It sounds like it's a little slower on the pre-feasibility study, but can you give us a sense of when you expect that to have that pre-feasibility study completed and ready to release it to the market?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's my own frustration as well. I can tell you that. I mean, the problem is when you get an assay done, then you have to move it to another laboratory for additional work. It takes 2 weeks to get that permit before you can even move it. And this was not something that we were expecting to happen because we were trying to do it out of one laboratory, but they weren't able to do it. So I am trying to get it all done by the end of November. That's obviously subject to me getting all the numbers in that I need. We did a lot of the capital work before. If there are any changes in the process design from the test work, then obviously we'll have to go back and revisit some of those capital numbers. But, we have done a lot of it already. So I am hoping that by the end of November, it will all be done. But, I can't guarantee that.
No, I completely understand it. And then, of course, you have to review it internally. And so in all likelihood, we should be seeing something from you early next year.
Yeah, or by the end of this year, depending on how it goes. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's hope for the optimistic side
Oh,
of it.
absolutely. Trust me. I'm always optimistic on this.
Yeah. Talk to us a bit more about Falea in Mali, because it certainly has taken a bit of a turn, and for the positive, for GoviEx. Give us a better sense of what you're thinking is the path for that project.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what's going on in Mali, it's all about gold exploration. You've got companies sitting out there like I Am Gold, B2 Gold. You got Roscan kicking out incredible results from that region, and they're all on the same belts that we're on. They're the belts that they're exploring or producing on already. And it's not something that was very obvious to us at the beginning, but as time has gone on, it's become very clear. And if you look at our last press release, those big belts have come straight through. We were always wondered why we had silver and copper in our project as well. And, you know, we didn't really get into the exploration of it because we were already focused on the easier exploration at Madaouela and Matanga. But now actually seeing that we have gold underlaying the unconformity, it gives more sense to why that copper and that silver is sitting in there as well. And, you know, what we've seen from the core that we've been taking out is, you know, just what you'd want to see for a gold project, you know, masses of quartz veining going through, really mangled up as well, chalcopyrite, pyrite, these kind of things. I mean, strategically for us, we're still a uranium developer, but we clearly have to get value out of all the assets we've got. And so the focus here is very much doing more work. Early next year, or late this year, if we can get the drills in on time, we will do some gold drilling on the Medini license to start to understand where that is going as well. So, you know, it's really about us trying to figure out what the next step is for this license to move it forward. Do we joint venture it? Do we have an earn-in, or do we spin it out into something else? But we really obviously need to get some exploration done to understand that.
All right, no, that's a good answer. So we should be seeing some initial work from GoviEx to really add value to that property position.
Yeah, we should get the first assays out of this drill core work probably by the end of November. We're doing an IP survey as well to try and understand some of the deeper EM anomalies that are hiding under there as well. And as I say, drilling next year to add on to the next stage of that one.
How much do you think you're going to spend over, say, the next 12 months on that project?
We budgeted just over $500,000 on that project.
All right. No, that's excellent. And then you're optimistic that you will be able to recoup or reacquire the Chirunda or regain the Chirunda license at Matanga. What gives you that confidence, if I might ask?
Yeah, I mean, first thing is there were 800 licenses terminated on the day ours was terminated. Ours is still live. If you actually go on the cadastre, it still shows GoviEx as being, whereas a lot of the others have gone already and been cancelled out. We've had very good feedback from the Canadian government and ASMEC when they've had meetings. The minister has been very clear. Every project needs to be looked at itself. I was on a panel with the Minister of Mines. He was very friendly, very open to me. And kind of made similar kind of comments. And then lastly, he's actually asked for us for a meeting next week, following his meetings with the Canadian government. So certainly expecting it to be. And we've made the point that, you know, the reason for termination was we hadn't built a mine. And we said, well, they're very hard to build a mine when the uranium market collapsed in a big hole. We have massively improved that project since we got hold of it. And the uranium market is looking up. So why would you take a permit off us at this stage when we're the most likely people to develop it going forward?
All right. That's great additional information. Thank you again for being able to present today and provide an update on GoviEx. And we look forward to seeing some positive news on multiple fronts from the company over, the next 6 to 12 months.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for those on, please take the time to move to the next presentation. And we look forward to seeing you through the remainder of this morning and early afternoon. Bye for now.